All right, we're going to get started at 6:32 p.m., April the 22nd. And first up, oh, actually, Mayor, you're supposed to call it to order. I'm doing your job.
I'm gonna call the meeting here.
There we go.
What a novel idea.
Well, actually, we can go, I mean, that's 2 years, I'm gonna call it to order and have Tim Gallo to lead us in.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay.
So, I'm gonna, turn the meeting over to Chairman Higgins at this time.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for everyone attending tonight. I did listen to the entire recording from yesterday and I apologize I couldn't be here. Had a kiddo in need. So I'll leave it at that for the basis of what was going on. One thing I did note though, while I was listening to the recording, it was extremely difficult to hear conversations because there were side conversations and small conversations happening at the same time. So I'll just ask that we respect whoever's speaking to just give them the space to speak and we take our turns appropriately. And you know, with the owl here, it's kind of like zooming in on 2 people, but others are talking and it was a little challenging. I had to keep rewinding. So if we could just please be mindful of the recording technology. It can't unfortunately isolate each one of our voices individually for listening. Outside of that, I thought the discussion yesterday was extremely healthy. I'm looking forward to continuing it tonight. And with that, I will pass it back to you, Mayor Keith.
All right, thank you. First of all, Allison is in the process of correcting the sheet. There's a major error on the first line. So we will hand out new sheets. But last night we talked in words about what we are considering, talking about, and how to approach the gap in the Board of Education budget. Tonight, we're going to look at the same discussion in actual numbers so that we can wrap our arms around it and get a better understanding of it tonight before we go to next Monday night when we're going to hold 2 meetings. The first meeting will be a finance board meeting where the finance board will formally vote on everything that's agreed upon, and then present the budget formally to the joint boards, and then that meeting will be followed by the joint boards meeting where we will address the budget and adopt the budget to be published in the newspaper, which will then go to public hearing, and then on May 14th, the final budget adoption and setting of the mill rate. So what we have here is a handout that describes what we talked about in words last night. Now, the first thing is that item number 1 is inaccurate. The borough town side increase is $875,000. So 39 departments of the town, all departments, not counting the Board of Education, have an increase of $875,000. And I'm going to come back to this item because I now understand why Allison stated it the way she did. So the Board of Ed requested increase that we discussed yesterday is $6,100,000. And again, right now we are only talking about the 25-26 budget. So from July 1, 25 to June 30th, 26. The request is 6,100,000 above what we adopted last year. So we spoke first last night about the concept of having the town take over facility operations, essentially exterior. I know, but yeah, so hand this one out, please. I figured it out. Still pretty sharp. So last night we discussed the concept of having the town take over management of facilities, buildings, exterior of the buildings, and large capital projects that we already handle and smaller capital projects, and allow the borough team to manage those items, which would mean that we would not need a Board of Ed facility director, lead maintainer, or custodial manager. Also, there are fringe benefit packages that go with that, and there are Board of Education capital funds in their budget that they have allocated for capital projects. So all of those items total $1,215,239,000. So under the scenario that we discussed last night, the borough team, which will include some new people being added to the park department, which are already in our budget. The building inspector, our maintenance staff, the fire marshal, myself, our 5-year capital team, and our approved vendors will work with the principals and janitors to maintain the facilities, the schools essentially, without the use of 3 people overseeing the operation. They will be overseen by the borough team. So if you take that number, 1,215,000, and subtract it from 6,100,000, in essence, the amount to satisfy the rest of the Board of Education budget. And by the way, the numbers we referred to came out of their budget. So the adjusted amount needed to run the school without facilities oversight is $4,884,761. So I'm gonna go, before I get to the Board of Ed's increase, which is listed at $4 million. I just want to know 3 things at the bottom where the footnotes occur. In order to make this entire plan effective, the joint boards will be asked next Monday night to transfer 1.77 million from the fiscal 2024 surplus to the borough undesignated capital reserve fund account. And by the way, there will be a very short special borough board meeting prior to next Monday in order to send a referral to the joint boards. So we're gonna have a very short special borough board meeting, probably Thursday. You like that?
Interfere with my tea time, please. Thursday is good.
What time would work for you?
Thursday's fine. I'm good.
Thursday is in 2 days from now or next?
2 days from now.
Okay. Okay.
For next Monday.
Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, yeah.
So we need to have the meeting to refer it to the joint board.
Yeah.
To transfer the money from our surplus to undesignated capital reserve. Secondly, we will be asking the joint boards to transfer $992,000 from the borough side in a Board of Education portion of the Borough Capital Reserve Fund to the Borough Undesignated Reserve Fund account. And also, well, I'm going to save the last point until last. So those two things are necessary to make this plan work. And what happens is that when we make those transfers, we then have enough money in capital reserve to pay for all of the capital items for the town and the Board of Ed in the 25-26 borough budget that we're about to adopt. So by saving about $3.5 million from tax dollars by using capital reserve, we are making funds available in order to bridge the gap with the Board of Ed and their budget request. Now, the third footnote, and where the borough board has voted several times, is that we want to end up with what was planned originally in our reval 3-year phase-in implementation, a 2 mil decrease. So we will be able, with these two transfers, to have a 2 mil tax decrease under a circumstance where the Board of Ed increase would total $4 million. So they would save 1.2 million in capital items that we would take over, and there would be an increase of $4 million to the Board of Ed. And that would be proposed in two parts. Part A would be transferring to the town side non-education items of the Board of Ed's budget, such as pension contribution 736, workers' comp 823, OPEB 25, Board of Ed dental insurance 660, unemployment 50. So those items total 2,294,000. So the initial number that we changed at the top was 2,294,000 plus 875. So the 875 is the increase for the town 39 departments. But we would be taking on the town side $2,294,000 of Board of Ed employee items and paying for them on the town side. We would also transfer directly to the Board of Ed $1,706,000. So what this shows us in numbers, rather than just words, is that if we make the two transfers to capital reserve, we can pay all of the capital items on the town side and the Board of Ed from our reserve accounts. We will take over facilities, operations, and most of the savings on the Board of Ed side are that we take over their capital expenses, but we also eliminate 3 positions on their side and utilize our existing forces to cover all of those items. We would then, in 2 parts, provide the Board of Ed with an additional $4 million by taking over $2,294,000 of their employee expenses, putting them on the town side. And the reason we select those is they are not inflation related, they don't impact the ability of the Board of Ed staff as to how they allocate the rest of their budget. The 1,706,000, they can do whatever they want with. And after all those things are accomplished, the mill rate would go down 2 mills. And the Board of Ed would be left with a shortfall of $884,000. So in numbers, that is the scenario that we discussed last night. So I think I should stop there and take any questions.
Well, I just added the three numbers that you just gave us, and it comes out to $5,215,239. Is that the increase to the Board of Ed in total
But,
being proposed?
yeah, it's in essence 5,215.
Yeah, gotcha.
What I hear.
Okay, I do want to point out that the increase amount, $66,100,000 is less than the actual request from the board, which was $6,619,576.
Well, when I was there, it was 6,1.
Okay,
Well, we get clarification on that.
yeah, why don't we go ahead, right?
I mean, I got my number from, the Montini, basically. There was,
Okay, I just thought that was worth clarification. That's why I brought it up.
Well. First of all, thank you all for being here, for the many hours that you put forth, for the support that you're providing during these challenging and difficult times. It is a extremely atypical year, and the mayor and its board chair who are leading through this process. I appreciate the out-of-the-box thinking, the creative ways, and the sharing of and the taking over of bills and or some leading the facilities department. My numbers are a little different. My number was a 6.4 million, which is the number that was listed on the 414 budget that you had the fiscal year when you went through all the departments 2 weeks ago. Other numbers that are a little different, the fringe benefits, 199 are actual 57,000. So 199 for fringe benefits for 3 people would be like 65,000 each. That would be a little high. So that said, I understand the context that you are in and the promises that were made and the reevaluation. So if we move this way, because this does get you where many of you, I think, want to land. I just want you to know that it would be closer, the Board of Ed would be having to cut closer to 1.3 million than 884, based on our numbers, which would be very impactful given everything that we've already done. You're talking people looking at a whole host of things with the board at our next workshop for 2. I say this not from, I do not mean to complain, I actually am very appreciative. This is, I think, an effective way to get both parties, essentially where they need to be. I wish it was about 400, I'm gonna be completely honest, I wish it was 400,000 more. That last 400 will be, it's sort of like, weight loss where you lose all that weight, and then, the last pound's a lot harder, when you're a big guy like myself, than the first few. So for getting there, I think it's gonna be, will be impactful. So at the same time, but thank you for all your work, certainly the mayor, James, and a lot of you, I appreciate it. The other thing that I'd like to mention is the box here with the borough, we're gonna design I would prefer to design a process, and I'll speak with the mayor this, where we have a point person on our side, that not every school is contacting, you will be called all day, every day, for facilities issues. We have maintainers we'll have a maintainer take it because it might not need to go to you. Might be something that we can do a quick fix. So essentially, we'll have a designated point person on our side if this moves forward. We'll then communicate with, as we design this process, someone on your side, or else I think, many of your people will be spread incredibly thin, given the needs of our building. So this does leave us with two maintainers, in your leadership structure here, which I know will be spread across 4 or 5 folks. I will have the maintainers be the point person for facilities, who then will be the people that will communicate directly to you, either them or myself, so that we can have a focused, streamlined process. Not 10 principals and 30 custodians all calling, a James Stewart for everything. You guys got a lot going on at the time. Excuse me and thank you.
Can I ask Chris a question?
Not sure,
Okay,
we will be here.
all right.
2 things. 3 things. First of all, between now and Monday, there will be back and forth discussions and tweaking and things like that. Secondly, when we calculate fringe benefits, we don't just take the health insurance, we take medical, dental, defined contribution, life insurance, social security, Medicare, and they do add up to the number we have, but obviously it's a higher number than just health insurance is a regular benefit package, but we'll discuss that and work it out. I think that secondly, on the facility side, we will talk further about it. But I do believe that our manner of dealing with day-to-day problems, I'll say electrical problems, maintenance, and better, has many less steps than on the Board of Ed side, and that we have no real interest in having to work through someone else. We want to control the process with total input. I mean, in other words, with total input from the school system, but we're not gonna have anyone in the decision-making process who will slow us down. And we have a much more efficient process where we don't have to go out to bid for emergencies or things like that. We use approved vendors. So we have 3 electricians, 3 plumbers, 2 or 3 of everything ready to go all the time like that without a bid. Now, when I say without a bid, we get prices from the 3 people who are working for us, and it works very well. So, but we will discuss it and work it out. So obviously, we want it to work. And the way I look at it is, we're gonna have a whole year to perfect it. And there will be, I'm sure, some bumps in the road. But we have a lot of good people on both sides. And together, we'll work it out. We're not gonna solve every problem between now and next Monday night. But once we implement it over the course of the next year, it's gonna work, and it'll probably be modified 2 or 3 times, but we're gonna find a way to make it work, and it will work. We also, my outdoor team is very eager to work on the exterior of some of the schools and supplement the work that's being done, and work to have better grounds and make it nice. And the street department and the park department are eager to work directly with your people as one team, not as 2 teams, but as one integrated team, and make everything better. So that's the objective. And I know it'll take some work, but that's how we would like to do it. And at this time, I would recognize Burgess Nethcue.
Thank you. Chris, I've been reading a lot lately online about other districts have been going back to Hartford asking if they would relook at the transportation funding and also increase Medicaid funding. I was just wondering if you've heard anything and do you think that that's gonna come to fruition at any time soon?
What I do know is that all of the organizations that represent superintendents, principals, so you have CAS, you have CAPS, you have CASBO, I think what special services is, that case.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure our special ed director is the president.
He is the president.
She's actually
President-elect.
doing something to represent the organization right now. They're all lobbying around improved funding for transportation and for excess costs. Those two things would be huge. First of all, excess costs, I'll try to be brief, but once you spend 4.5 times the per pupil amount, so if we spend 10,000 a kid, once we get past 45,000, that's when we get a percentage reimbursement. Right, so we're closer to 15,000 a kid. So once you get past, the $60,000, anything past that, you can get some money back. However, it's never been fully funded, so you only get a portion. And that we have had placements that have been 350,000, much further than that.
Right.
What we're advocating for also is in district to drop that 4.5 threshold to 3, to incentivize hiring more staff to keep more students in district than going out. That would be helpful. So I know last night we were talking about, well, what can we do to keep our kids? So we outplace in terms of special education, 30, it was 29 for a long time, we're in the low 30s. We have in self-contained programs that are specialized, triple that in our district. So we are maintaining the majority. But just to note, right now, it's a very litigious time where it's all the backing in terms of due process favors the parent 100%. You will lose every time. You will lose every time. So that essentially is that. So I'm hopeful there'll be more funding, but I really don't know, because as you know, right now it's all about the spending cap. And
They talked about going over that cap already, and I think there's a bill before them now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's a little early to know. I haven't heard what has the most legs yet, but I'm sure I'll get an update from our lobbyists soon. Thanks.
Pete, something that Eric said last night got a couple of us thinking after the meeting when we were talking. And I wonder if our lobbyists couldn't help with this, but transportation has gone up astronomically. And there's no one minding the store on how much it's going up. And I'm not accusing anybody of anything. I'm not a transportation expert, but I know I've never seen it go up as much as it has in the 40 years I was in public education and worried about transportation. So I wonder if some of our legislators couldn't come at this from the other side and give some incentive to these transportation companies to keep their costs at bay, or to keep their costs more reasonable for school systems, and use their dollars that way, which is much more controllable, isn't getting into who's getting placed, who's not getting placed, the stuff that you really can't control. I wonder if we couldn't do something about that.
So first of all, the borough lobbyists are also
Yep.
working on
I
the
know.
same issue. And on the state level, it's less than perfect.
Mhm.
And there's a lot of moving parts, and there's a lot of towns advocating for the same things that Naugatuck is advocating for, so we'll see how it plays out. Any relief along those lines will go directly to the Board of Ed
Mhm.
in addition to what we're talking about.
Mhm.
So there is a potential, potential good news, but for the purposes of making the budget, we can't count on it.
No, of course not.
But hopefully there will be some relief there. I know that going back 6-8 weeks, I was led to believe that we were definitely gonna be plus 300 to 400,000. Now, they're talking all different things now, and we'll find out, but we're definitely pushing to help them get more.
Mhm. Must be spent.
Yeah, Mayor, the transfer to the town side, the pension, workers' comp, that, part A. Is that something that's we're doing it this year, or is it going to be future?
Well, in the upcoming budget year,
What I mean
starting
is it
July 1.
July 1 for 25-26? Is this something that the town is going to take on in future years or only as needed?
Well, let's just say, next year, I'd be shocked if, we don't have a similar situation. So we're gonna have to find a way to, to find a longer term solution. And hopefully there will be some help on the state side. But, we will address that next year, but don't forget, we have to get through the next budget season. We have to get through, after that, we're gonna take on the current year where we have some issues to work out. And after that, we will begin looking at the following year. So we've got a lot to take on in a short period of time. So we're doing it in what I think is the most logical progression. And and don't forget, there's time limits.
Yeah.
Our time limit for next year's budget actually precedes the year we're in, which hasn't finished yet, so.
No, what I meant was I didn't know if this was a commitment we were taking on for life, or if it's gonna be on a year by year basis type of a thing, that's all.
It's year by year, but
Yeah,
it's not going away quickly, that's for sure.
correct. Because I have some thoughts about that, if we're gonna keep it on the town side, I have some thoughts about what we could do. But that's another day. That's a
I
story for
would
another
say
day.
that, over the next year, there's gonna be a lot of discussion about all of these items and a joint collaborative effort to make everything better and an effort to get more funding from the state. So a lot of moving parts.
Bob Neff, you're online.
Two questions. One is, has there been a thought regarding the elimination in the budget of the curriculum director, which is $200,000 to $300,000? And second question is, when will we have a general idea on the health insurance issues, not only for current, but for next year? Because that's a big nut to be playing with right now. Thank you.
Well, I'll take part of it and then I'll turn it over to the superintendent. Next year's numbers we have in the budget that we're taking on for next year. This year's numbers we're going to work on further in May, between May 15th and June 30th. We'll have to work all of those out. And the third part of it, as to the curriculum director or anything else, I'll turn over to Mr. Montini.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, for those that don't know, this budget has eliminated 3 administrative positions. That represents a reduction of 35% in the administrative classification. 28 point whatever, some 28% of that is already central office administrators. So to answer Bob's question directly, is the board has had ongoing conversations about that position. When it is not a $200,000 to $300,000 position, I'm assuming you're adding in, benefits, etc. However, eliminating the 3, when you're talking about union positions, there would be bumping. So the best you'll get is if we lose that, would be bumping one of the least senior assistants would get bumped. So it would be closer to $100,000 job, I would say. That said, we also, reducing 3 current positions, would be losing some very fine leaders who you need very much to get through these challenging times. our school principals and our teachers, the people that are on the front lines every day, they're the ones that are gonna make the closing of Salem School, the transitions, the leading the work, tackling the challenges, the increased class sizes, the reduced personnel. They are the ones that hold everything together. So that essentially would impact by now having 4 folks bumped out and would be I believe quite impactful. That said, obviously, whatever the numbers are going to be, I will have conversations with our board. And they will decide altogether what reductions will be made. And so I will say that that's under, there's been dialogue about that. However, if you look at our needs, we still academically have far to go. And one person is not enough to handle the instructional needs of a pre-K-12 and adult education serving 4,200 plus another couple hundred in adult ed. That's certainly not enough. If you think about curriculum, the number of subjects, the number of standards in every subject, it's mind-boggling. So districts similar in size, I could pick on Ansonia. Ansonia has a director for literacy and so somebody for ELA and social studies, somebody for math and science, somebody for, so they'll have 4 or 5 curriculum people, not quite as high as our curriculum. But the sum total of that is double or triple what we pay. Because essentially, a district our size should have more, Our instructional needs, because curriculum, that's the wrong name. It's about teaching, learning, and assessment. It's about all of the pieces to growing our students academically. So very long-winded answer, apologies. Pete, we know you talk too much, and I'll sit down and wait for the next question.
Chris, I would agree with you. The curriculum director is, I think, an important role. When I ran a very small 100-student Montessori school, we had a curriculum director, and that was a full-time job with just 100 students. So the fact that we have one here with all these grades, my Montessori school was pre-elementary up to the 6th grade, and that was it. And we're talking 100 students in total with all of the things that you're talking about, and we had one, and it was vital to our accreditation. So I'm in support of not eliminating that. Personally, that's me.
And again, that's their decision.
Right, yeah.
not ours.
Yeah.
Can I just add one thing, please?
Sure.
Do we still get most of our curriculum information from the state of Connecticut? And don't we have somebody that used to work for us at the state of Connecticut now that's running their program?
I will be brief. We do not get most of our curriculum. The state does publish some units, but they need a lot of work. 2, yes, our former curriculum director, Caroline Messenger, works for the state. She's not running, she works in the literacy office. So she has a very focused role around early literacy. What we actually are crushing right now. I can't wait to see in the next few years, after all the work that we're doing in early literacy, our scores. Can't wait for them to get to you in like 3 years, Mr. Marangi. You're gonna have.
I'm still there.
You'll be there. You'll be there. You're a fixture. You'll have the best readers that you've ever had. Yes. You're fine.
Question
Dorothy, go ahead.
question for Bernice. Bernice.
Yes.
So I'm looking at the financial plan review as of March 31st. And it says year-to-date payments 54 million. Is that from July 24 through March of 25? The statement that you post this in the budget and in the.
Is it okay if I just?
Oh, yeah. So my question really surrounds the encumbrance of 20 million. If the factors remain static for the first 9 months to the next 3 months, which would end June 30th, we would be looking at somewhere close to 18 million, which may generate a positive surplus.
Well, there are a lot of.
Unless there are some back end costs that haven't been factored in yet.
Well, so the encumbrances are made up of two segments. They're the payroll encumbrances
And then there are purchase orders. Some of our purchase orders, they don't bill out until the end of the year. For example, and I really hate to dwell on special education, but special education tuition, they do not bill us, even though we may know that the total bill is going to be $300,000, they do not bill us on a monthly basis. The people that bill tuition just are not as, billing is not their thing. It's not, so we get those invoices quite late in the year. So there are a lot of purchase orders that are still
So possibly
waiting
those
to
could
encumber,
come in the back end.
waiting to pay out,
All
yes.
right.
Now, there could be some, there could be a purchase order in there that perhaps, it's got an encumbrance of 100,000 and we're only gonna spend 90,000, but we honestly won't know that until we get closer, until the contract is paid out.
Okay. Just curious. Just trying to help you find some extra money.
Bernice, with regards to the accounting method, are we running a cash-based accounting or are we doing accrual-based?
We do a cash-based accounting throughout the year, but then at the end of the year, we do accrue for invoices that we know are going to come that we just
Sure.
haven't received.
Would it make more sense for the reporting, just to keep it aligned and not trying to put more work in your area, but to accrue those special education expense, like you think it's about 300,000, so that way you have it at least accounted for in the accrual?
They are in the encumbrance, and I think that's what Dorothy is asking,
I
is
see.
that the encumbrances are larger than she would think, because she would think at this point of the year, the encumbrances should be a little lower.
Okay.
And it's because we have those larger purchase orders that just haven't been fully expended yet.
Thank you. All right, any other questions? You okay?
I don't have a question.
You have a comment?
Do I have a comment?
I don't know.
Well,
Nothing.
so I would just say that, between tomorrow and Friday afternoon, when I meet with Mr. Montini and Mr. Ricky, we've been doing that every Friday for some time. I want to use that meeting to extend this conversation further. And be in a position so that we will go into next Monday night with a clearer understanding of exactly where we are and prepare for the finalization of the budget to be published, knowing that there will still be a public hearing and another meeting. So we don't have to get it perfect by Friday, but we'll just keep improving. And as I said, to me, there are so many things happening at the state level and beyond that it's a moving target, and we're going to not only adopt a budget in the best way we can to provide a quality education and still reduce the mill rate, but during the next year, continue working together to make it better on both sides as we move forward. We've been placed in a difficult situation and we will make it work.
As a reminder for next Monday, when we do meet, as it's a joint meeting, two things. If Nancy, if the notice hasn't already been done yet, I think it might have. If it could just include that the finance board meeting starts at time, the 6:30 time, but then the joint board meeting actually starts following the end of the finance meeting. So that way we're not stuck with a 20 or 30-minute waiting period. And then secondly, we'll absolutely need a quorum for Monday in order to have a vote. So just please keep that in mind if we're unable to be here in person, if we can at least attempt to be on Zoom or otherwise, call in or something like that. Any other questions, comments? discussion?
James, what are our future dates for meetings?
Great question. Our next meeting is Monday, which is the 20th, that's 28th.
28th, yeah, and I hit the 7th after that, that wasn't sure.
That's Yes, challenging one, Julie.
I have, let me tell you what I have. That's right.
For the 20th, possibly.
Yeah, so that we should be meeting the 28th.
I have the 7th, the 12th, and the 14th.
So the 7th is the day that and someone keep me honest here if I'm incorrect. The 7th is just the day that the budget gets published.
Okay.
And then the 12th is the public hearing, followed by that Wednesday, the 15th with our joint board adoption.
Or the 14th, okay,
That's 14th, sorry, the 14th.
okay. So the 7th is in the meeting, it's just.
That's just the publishing of the, yeah.
All right,
No,
So
the
you
6th
should-
is your regular Burgess meeting. Yeah, maybe that's what.
Yeah, so for finance, it's Monday, the 28th, and then Monday, the 12th, and Wednesday, the 14th.
okay.
Is the public hearing gonna be at the high school again? Do we know?
Great question. Where shall we should probably host it then?
I think for this year, we
Yeah.
probably should.
So we'll plan on the public hearing, which is the 12th to be at the Board of Ed building.
Well, it's gonna be in the auditorium.
Auditoriums.
Oh. We
Yeah.
can,
We've done it in the past, but do you think there might be some?
Yeah, I think so too. Is it reasonable to talk about publicly that we're on track to do this 2 mil cut? So that Board of Ed gets beat up maybe a little bit less at the hearing?
I mean,
This is public, we've got Andreas.
This is public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you get that part?
Public as it's.
Thank you, my dear.
No, but I thought
So-
appreciate that sailing and all of that.
Yeah,
And
so
we should be at
that's
the
a good point,
auditorium.
Diane.
So I guess.
we should plan to be at the Naugatuck High School auditorium.
Okay.
Can you,
Yeah.
superintendent,
12th.
make sure, let us know if it's not
I
available?
will do that first thing tomorrow.
Okay,
We'll have it set up, with tables on the stage.
Yep.
Like all of that podium, one podium for the speakers.
Yep.
The aisle, we'll do
Yep.
it similar, James, to the Salem meeting.
Yep.
You
Going
also,
back to the old days.
yes, we could also, if you be more comfortable in the boardroom, or you just want to be there, set up in the boardroom, and you can always move. That gets really tricky too. It's your call, but I'll let you know first thing in the morning.
yeah, I would say our plan is the auditorium, and then if it's unavailable, we'll hold it in the Board of Ed room.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when
that's
we
the
maxed
backup.
out chairs, we can get a couple hundred chairs in there.
Yeah,
In the past, we've also done it. Auditorium.
Yeah.
That's another, yeah, it used to be at the city, but, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
It's been at City Mill.
That's right.
okay, all right, if there's nothing,
Chris, 2 o'clock on Friday?
A little earlier. All right, I put in there, or every day, night.
all right, if there's nothing else to be heard, I have a motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make the motion.
Thank you, Diane. Any second? Thank you. All right, adjourned at 7:21 PM.